What is up, guys? Did you like that?
Yeah. Wow. You sound like you were yelling. You have to project with your.
Oh, really? Yeah, I was yelling. It clipped through really bad.
Yeah, it sure did. Clipped through my ears. All right. Oh yeah.
You always do that. That's your warm up, and it worries me.
Why? Why is it?
I don't know, because you put on like this like deep, I'm trying to be sexy voice, and then like say, oh yeah, let's do it. It's like, you're not laying me down to bed here, man.
Well, I'm on the podcast with the, a very beautiful and elegant wooden potato, so.
Hello. Wait, is that our intro?
No. All right. We're starting now, guys. We're starting now. I should probably leave that in. I'm gonna leave that in.
All right.
What is up, guys, and welcome to the VisualWood podcast.
Oh, I totally see how that's different. That was projecting. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. See,
hello, everybody.
Hey, I didn't introduce you. It's fine. I already called you beautiful and elegant. It's all good.
My name is Wood and Potatoes, and this is the VisualWood podcast. There you go. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. All right. So
what are we talking about today?
We're talking about the new patch and MLG stuff coming out as well, if you ever heard of that. But a lot of questions about the anime stuff were in the comments.
Yeah,
and
dude. What was this?
I just want to get like a run through of a couple animes I've watched. Like this is like just a percentage of it, just in case, because a lot of people are like, oh, you put Sword Art Online in the thumbnail, but you didn't talk about it or whatever. Like I put it in there because I forgot to mention it. That's like one of my favorites and one of the newer ones, exactly. And of course, Attack on Titans. Come on, who doesn't watch Attack on Titans but Wooden Potatoes, because Wooden Potatoes isn't.
Because I'm not a connoisseur. This really weirded me out. Okay, I very much appreciate everyone that sent me a message, but I had loads and loads. We spent barely any time talking about like anime last podcast. I had so many really long, really thought-provoking, detailed, comprehensive messages from like real fans of this genre or of television. It was unbelievable. I had so many just filling up my inbox. Like, people into anime are really impassioned, and that's like a part of, I think, why I'm not like super into it myself, because I'm like that. If I get into something, I'm like utterly obsessed with it, and I feel like it's a very slippery slope, and I could very quickly become one of those people, and it would like consume my life, kind of thing.
It will consume your life, because you already consume your life with a lot of shows. Every time you're like, oh, I'm watching this whole season of this, I'm like, geez.
Parks and Recreation coming up next is the next one on my list.
Yeah, I have that, like with my wife. I think I've mentioned this before. I have like a list that I run through, and we just keep going from series to series to series to series. We just finished Suits, the season finale of Suits, so we're gonna wait until the next season finishes, and then we're gonna start on Breaking Bad on Saturday.
Dude, you're in the wrong time for Breaking Bad, because like Breaking Bad is just coming up to its end now, so like you're not in on that like finale hype at the moment that everyone's like. It's fine. Themselves over.
I'm just gonna watch it all at one time, and that's always good. I don't like waiting for each episode. It's the same thing. All right, let me run through my list. Legend of Korra, Sword Art Online, Fruits Basket, Afro Samurai, Samurai Champloo.
Afro Samurai?
Yeah, with Samuel L. Jackson. He plays
Are you
Afro
serious?
Samurai. Yes. It's a really good action-packed anime, dude, and it's very mature, guys. For youngins, don't stay away from that. Stay away from that. Samurai Champloo, one of my favorites. Cowboy Bebop, of course, with Steve Bloom.
I've heard a lot of good stuff about that. Apparently,
Trigun, Steins Gate, Attack on Titan, Bleach, Naruto, of course. The big ones, the ones that everyone knows of. Berserk, which was really good. Loved the music, and then the ending just freaked me out. Death Note, which I mentioned last time, Code Geass, I think you were mentioning that, Outlaw Star, a little of One Piece, I haven't gotten really into that just yet, Blue Gender, Gantz, of course, Dragon Ball Z, of course. Black Lagoon, Darker Than Black, Gundam, back in the days, Reborn. For people who watch that.
What is all this stuff?
It's a lot of anime. Like I this is just a percentage that on top of my head I just written down before, so people would know like, yes, I watch a lot of anime, because people are like, oh, do you watch this? Do you watch this? Yes. I probably watch everything. I watch a ton of movies as well. Not Sword Art Online. Sword of the Stranger, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, Summer Wars, and some of the stuff I've watched recently. 5 centimeters per second, Akira, all the stuff from Studio Ghibli. Of course, all the old ones as well. And Free, which is a swimming pool slice of life. No, I'm just joking. All the anime guys, they're gonna laugh at me like, what, Free? You watch Free? It's like this anime, like this new anime that's like a bunch of guys just kind of like naked most of the time, like swimming. It's like a swimming.
It's Baywatch, the anime version.
It's something like that but like it seems like an anime for girls now. Like, how there's a lot of anime with a lot of fan service with pretty much anime girls showing their boobs half the time and stuff like that. This is like kind of like how this one is, except I don't think there's any bulge in their pants or anything like that. But anyway,
there was something like that I was watching, or I tried to watch because I heard the intro theme and liked it, but then I just couldn't get into it at all. Like after 2 episodes, I was gonna give it 3 episodes, but I never went back to it. I think it's called like Chobits or something.
Oh, Chobits! Yeah, dude, I used to watch that way back in the day. I'm about to rewatch it. I actually enjoyed it. You didn't like that?
No, I thought it was. I don't know, because I'm gonna.
Oh,
sound
you
like
don't
a prude,
like that type of like.
It was weird, dude. It just seemed odd. So, like in the second episode, like he's like sexually harassing this like robot woman and like looking up her top and stuff. I'm like, what am I watching? What is this going to become?
That anime is made by women, right?
I just
all
by
women,
the by for me.
All women animated by all women. It's pretty crazy. You probably like you probably won't like Fruity Cootie.
I don't even know what that is.
It's like the dad in there, like he's such a pervert, and it's so funny how they animate it. Anyways, we talked enough. We talked enough about it anyway. Arrow Gamer just had this live stream. We watched like half of it before we started VisualWood, because we were about to record, and we're like, should we watch this or not? And
wait, the Eurogamer live stream?
Yeah, the Eurogamer live stream. It's supposed to be for Guild Wars 2, like a Guild Wars 2 thing that's going on there, kind of like the anniversary bash.
Yeah, it was kind of weird, guys. Or we watched a little bit. I'm gonna go back and watch all of it at the very least. But it's it was like we didn't really know who it was aimed at, right? Because it was like a very professional corporate PowerPoint.
Yeah, like
presentation.
What the Xbox One did, pretty much. It's like like who needs to know about the living story and how more people are coming back and how people care about it? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, show us content, really. Like, for me, like, really, like, unless it's all for just people who want to do business are there, then those are the people it's aimed for.
But here's the thing, like, it seemed to be that kind of deal, right? But then it was like basically trying to show off all the best features of the Living World strategy to excite potential new players, like, and they were putting up all these stats. Oh, this is what the Living World strategy can do. But then they were talking like about like giving examples and stuff that only existing players would understand. So like, it was only really appealing to this really, really niche audience of potential buyers of Guild Wars 2 that really need very corporate, statistically driven presentations on PowerPoint to get them into the game. It was kind of weird. I don't know. The Q&A they showed an alternate trailer of the new patch that's coming out next week, which looked okay. It looks very, very big, the new dungeon, but I guess we'll do like a section on that in a second, right? And then we start recording, so that's basically what we know about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we could talk about it. Like, that's the next patch. So we saw a little bit of it in Arrow Gamer. They showed like how like widespread. It almost made me think about Guild Wars 1, actually, looking at like that big open green area. Yeah, right near Radisum, that area there in Guild Wars 1. It kind of made me think of that and running
on the Magus Stones.
Yeah,
I guess so. It looks alright. I mean, if you compare a lot of the other shots in there, it didn't look like Guild Wars 1 or 2. Like, this idea of all the moving airships and stuff looked really cool in
oh there. Yeah, like there's like different areas. Like first is green, and all of a sudden you go through this door that looks like kind of like Evan Hawk. or something like that, and then all of a sudden you're in like a desert place or something like that. Well, I'll probably show like a clip, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a good dungeon. The thing is, like, we're both kind of on the same page here, right? It looks like a big dungeon. It looks like it's going to be reasonably substantive, but that's all that's coming with the patch. And we were like comparing that just now to Super Adventure Box, right?
Right. Super Adventure Box had a lot more. Let me pull it up here.
Because SAB, we were looking at the addition of ascended crafting, lots of legendary weapon changes, other stuff.
Account-wide magic find, ascended crafting, legendary updates aesthetically, and of course the stat twisting stuff. And then SAB is such a big patch with, you know, like, I'm pretty sure only some people were into SAB, but like, I mean, they had the tribulation mode, they had the 3 worlds. It was a lot there. And then it seems to kind of go a little bit less now. Like, you see Taqu now, that was the only thing there as well.
With LFG.
Right, but they also revamped some of the bosses, and they gave some World v World, the Bloodlust thing, and then in the LFG, like you just said. And, you know, a lot of people were excited with the Taqu. Now, this one, like, you know, and there was nothing extra. They didn't do this extra thing like they did way back with the invasions. So this might happen this time, but this one is just really tiny. All we're getting is this new dungeon, which you said that there might be more to it, but we're getting achievement rewards, of course, backpack and a mini. We don't know what the mini is. We're getting exotic nightmare weapons, right? Something totally different from the ones that you get from the tokens from Twilight Arbor. And then we have the ether chest, which you can get from Maguma Jungle, like roaming around. I'm guessing kind of like the balloons and the dragon coffers. Yeah,
I actually quite like the sound of that. It reminds me, you were just talking about GW1. It kind of reminds me a little bit of how in the first game, enemies so if you were fighting in the Shiver Peaks, you'd have a very low chance to get a Shiver Peak key off of an enemy, which would then open a randomly spawning chest in the area. I loved that old mechanic, and it just doesn't exist in Guild Wars 2, and this is sort of a little bit like that. You know, you collect all these pieces to be able to open an extra bonus chest. I like that idea. I wonder how sort of repeatable that content will be. One thing that I've got 2 thoughts, right, on the idea that there's just a dungeon being added in this patch. First of all, I do want to add, we have seen in like leaked notes, I guess, or a lot of things suggest that there's going to be a pretty big skill update and trait update and, you know, class balance. Do you think that is exciting? Is that very exciting to you? Because it is to me. I know that much.
Oh, is it this update that all those changes are coming?
I think it should be. I mean, we've been seeing those. They've been floating around a long time. I thought they were coming to Quattro Rising, so I'm assuming that they're coming on this next one.
I knew it's going to be in October, but I don't know which in October. Would it be during the Halloween thing? I would like for them to be right now, because right before Halloween, because Halloween is its own patch, right? Because the next update is going to be Halloween, and Mad King is going to come back, and I'm pretty sure...
Mad King versus Scarlet. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And Mad King would just smush them, dude. Mad King would just, like, totally kill them, dude. Totally kill them. All.
Well,
burn those little plants. Make burnt salad, pretty much.
You're an evil person.
Yes.
You're an evil person. I don't even like the Silvari that much, and you would never catch me saying something like that. Bang out.
Are you legitimately what? Legitimately? Wow, I just messed up that word.
You were gonna say legitimately. You said zoonalitely.
Yeah,
that's great.
Are you upset of the Silvari?
About the Silvari? No. What? Do I not like the Silvari? Are you asking?
No. You were just saying you're getting like appalled.
Oh, am I? Yeah, no. I don't know. The Silvari, okay. Would I burn them all? Maybe put a drink in me or 2 first.
You don't have a Silvari character.
I do have a Silvari character actually, but it's my Necro. I tried to make her look as much like a spider as I could, and the only reason she's a Silvari is because that's as close as I could get. Yeah, because it's a Silvari called Arachnia that was gonna have. Well, it was gonna be a character named Arachnia, which is named after one of the dead gods in lore, which is just a cool name. And then last Halloween, speaking of Halloween, they added that bow named Arachnia again. Was it called called Arachnophobia, which was like a spider. I wanted a character called Arachnia that looked like a spider and had that bow. But in the end, I already had a Char Thief, and so I ended up making it a Necro. Necros can't use short bows, so it all fell flat anyway. But and that's why I have a Sylvari. But no, let me go back, okay? This patch, do you think, right, it's just a dungeon that's been added? Do you think that is, rather than sort of a negative saying, oh, they've got less and less going on, do you think that's sort of a positive sign that a lot of the necessary quality of life things Guild Wars 2 was lacking at launch have now been filled in? And now they can just focus on the raw content, and we're going to be seeing more patches just on the content rather than all this extra stuff, which is now by and large dealt with for the game.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because a lot of the stuff that he mentioned in that patch that, you know, looking forward in 2013, I feel like I mention this every single episode. He got it done, really, except for the scavenger hunt. Everyone's waiting for the precursor scavenger hunt. But you know, just to clarify, this is free patches that they do every 2 weeks. I don't care if it's less. Definitely, like I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh my gosh, it's less. I hate this patch. It's so easy to get that. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there is less, and there is less. I'm just pointing that out there. You know, doing both sides of the coin. But like, I feel like now for this next couple months, I think the Living team is gonna be pushing forward with this, you know, nice because what we've been seeing is permanent content, right? But we've been seeing less everything else, right?
That's temporary stuff. And here's another idea as well, okay? Taqu Rising 2 was a little bit lighter. Here's the thing. We know that of the way that the company works, that it's all like individual teams. But there is a part of me, right, that likes to think, okay, Taqu Rising was a little bit lighter. This patch, perhaps, is going to be a big... I really do feel like this is going to be a big dungeon. Kind of like how Super Adventure Box just sounded like 3 zones. And then I still have tons to do in there. It's going to be a big dungeon, I feel like. But despite that, it's still a little bit lighter, right? And then we've got Halloween coming up, which is by and large already done. You know, they can change some rewards here or there, maybe add a little bit, but mostly the features are in place. So therefore, a part of me likes to think, they've had all of this extra time, they've taken it easy a little bit. Maybe after Halloween, boom, it's going to be a huge patch, like this incredible, like massive thing. For
Christmas, right? Yeah, right before Christmas patch.
Well, or even just 2 weeks after Halloween.
Oh no, November. Sorry. Totally forgot about November.
You just forgot November.
I just totally forgot November. Yeah, definitely. So like,
we could see that. Now, part of me wants to think that will happen. It's probably unlikely because, as we do know, you know, they're all their own separate pods of development, as it were. Maybe they've managed to shuffle people around, and that's something that they're thinking of. But yeah, I mean, that would excite me a lot. I am curious about Halloween, just in general, like how much they are going to iterate upon what they've already seen. What would you be happy with, like, for them to do at Halloween? Just leave it, or what do you want to see new?
Oh, no, it has to be new. But what I was saying before Christmas, meaning a nice big patch that brings a lot of people to the game and gets people interested and gets like a lot of new stories out about Guild Wars 2, would get people to say, okay, for Christmas I want Guild Wars 2.
Yeah, that's a good point as well.
Or, you know, a lot of people like to treat themselves during Christmas, you know, save some money, $60, throw it down, and I mean, there's always deals. Like, I've seen Guild Wars 2 go down to what, like $40? And, you know, even less than
free weekends as well. Oh, that's something else coming too.
And a free weekend is coming out. Free trial. What was it? Friday? This Friday throughout Tuesday, I think.
Yeah, I just know it's about. I think it's going to coincide with the release of the new patch. But yeah, that's something too that they'll be adding that should be pretty good.
To answer your question, yeah, I think like I was definitely hinting like, oh, are you guys gonna have you know, you guys gonna bring back the clock tower or a jumping puzzle? And Josh was like, you're gonna have to see. You're gonna have to see. So that means something juicy is coming there, at least for the jumping puzzle guys. I know that they're not just gonna rehash content. Like a lot of people say that like it's like, okay, no.
Oh no, they will though.
No. Like they could do like you know, the same world stuff, like the pumpkins and the door. It wasn't pumpkins, it was doors, right? Oh, there was pumpkins.
There were pumpkins too, yeah.
Yeah, and the doors and stuff. They could rehash that. I don't care about that. What I care about is, like the jumping puzzle, and just add a little twist to it. It doesn't have to be entirely different.
Yeah, I think you will find here though, dude. It will be like 75% rehashed content, and I'm totally fine with that. Look at the features, okay? They gave us, was it 2 mini games, PvP mini games at the same time last year? The jump, which I'm sure will be back in largely the same way they were before. The Mad King's Realm will probably be there in largely the same way. The portals will be there. The pumpkins, all the decorations. All this is stuff that they had to develop last year, but now is sort of just done, and we'll see keep coming back year after year after year without very much change. I think we'll see maybe 25% new stuff. Even the skins on Black Lion, like a lot of people are holding on to ghastly grinning shields and stuff like that right now, and they're like, oh god, do I sell this? Because no one really knows if they're going to bring them back. I think they probably will bring them back, and we will see again more rehashed stuff in the way of Black Lion, as well as maybe a few other things. But, for festival events, I think that's okay to rehash that all. It's just, I don't know what new I want. Maybe some Living Story stuff that has... I am quite serious. Scarlet and Mad King Thorn are 2 great characters to pair up together.
Yeah.
So that would be cool to see. But I don't know. In terms of content, I'm really not sure what I want out of Halloween. Maybe a different Mad King's... I mean, have you got any ideas? I just don't.
The jumping puzzle is the only thing I really care about, really. That's the only thing I cared about at all in Halloween, really, to be honest.
We're talking about...
Everything else was just like, Everything was just like, I like, see, the thing is, I'm pretty sure I have a question of this later on, because we have a lot of questions. A lot of questions, but the mini games, right? Like, I can't play with my friends, so what's the point of the mini games?
That's true.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. And the boss battle was pretty cool, jumping down the platforms and fighting him over and over again. I enjoyed those stuff, but really, the jumping puzzle is where it's at. Just now, I'm getting into these patches, like this year. Last year, I was just like, I'm not too into this too much. There's not much here that I really enjoy. I was usually just playing the game and happy to do the doors and get extra money from all the skins and stuff like that. That's what I really cared about, was the skins and the jumping puzzle. But yeah,
see, my only worry for you then is like the jumping puzzle is let's say they change Mad King's Clock Tower. Let's say they add a different reward and maybe a hard mode or something where, the water rises faster. That's still, this is 2 weeks worth of content. If all you're really going to be going for is that, then it could be like, oh, okay. Because, Super Adventure Box is the jumping puzzle update. And now we've got this, I think... we have to be excited about more than that, otherwise it's just going to be like a day out of the 2 weeks that we enjoy it, and then the rest of it's like, Halloween.
The reason why I think that... like it's going to be different and it's not going to be like kind of like the same thing is because they have evolved in their Living Story skills, really. Like in the beginning of the Living Story wasn't so good. It wasn't really intriguing. Now it's a thing now. Like everyone's looking on the page, right? And I make these videos about it and stuff like that, and people get excited for it. Sometimes, and I feel like their skills have improved enough that it's going to change in a certain way and how they deal with certain mini games, certain jumping puzzles, certain way how they provide content for definitely like even new players, because sometimes the new players are very like left out. They feel like left out. They're like, oh, if they're not 80, they can't do the content, or people don't want to play with them and stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure they're working around a few issues like something like that. Trying to work around all those issues they had in the past with the Living Story and changing that feedback pretty much.
Yeah, so. I think they are definitely more geared and capable of dealing a really nice thing for Halloween here. Halloween was a huge update, so was Winter's Day, but you got to remember, it's like you say, when they were released, that was sort of the efforts of almost the whole company at once kind of thing, rather than now where we've just got small teams that are working together. So I think, they can devote one small team, but still, because they got such a good base to work on, all the decorations are done, that's all a nice solid base that they can, add some nice stuff on top, because they're just geared for it now. Where did I hear about they were talking about, I think it was their PAX panel last year, last year at Gamescom, their PAX panel, they were talking about how ArenaNet has always been a company that has been sort of geared towards quick releases. And if you think about the first game, it definitely was. It was like 6 months. They were going for a campaign every 6 months. It was always geared for that. And then, you know, doing all this extra stuff with the living story has really pushed that to the limit even further now. So, yeah, they're even more geared than they were last year for quick releases and putting out a lot of content in a short space of time. So, yeah, I hope we'll see more. It's just, for me, it's a question of what is it, because I want more than a jumping puzzle kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Right. But hopefully that's Scarlet Mad King. All right. Hey, we'll get back to it with questions, I guess. Yeah.
Another. All right, we've played Taqu quite a bit now, right? Mm-hmm. So I guess we could talk about it just like a tad bit. What I wanted to talk about with Taqu is that we had this fear when we first saw it, like what would be the negatives? No one being there, right? Because it respawns quite a bit, and some servers are not into these types of fights as others are, right? Yeah. Thank God for guesting. I was going for my dailies, right? And the boss one seems pretty easy, right? No one is there at Taqu. The boss week, you have to, have an attempt at Taqu, and you get like an achievement for it. There's like no one there. No one there. All right, so that's my issue, and that was a worry, and of course we're right with that, because really that kind of new flair kind of wears off after a while. It's like, oh yeah, that's cool, and now we don't care anymore. My suggestion for this, right? It's always good to do if we're going to complain about something, we might as well try to give some type of solution. I'm thinking, what about a message board, right? That people can say, okay, we schedule a whole server-wide group attack on Taqu, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Everyone group up on a server, right? So that's the daily thing. Everyone knows, okay, on this message board, right, there's going to be this, or Taqu fight at 9 p.m. And everyone groups up at that time. Instead of it being all spread out and people having to guess and hope to find a Taqu fight. What do you think?
Are you talking about like an in-game,
yes,
like quite literally a Lion's Arch you can buy, similar to how you buy Commander, you can rent to use this message board and sort of tell people, all right, we're going to meet up, something like that?
Yeah, like a guild or something like that. Oh, we're hosting a Taqu message, a Taqu fight.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. I think we have now seen... it's interesting, because going into this conversation, I was going to say to you, it's too early to tell. Because my experience of it still has been lots of people are still going for Taqu and stuff. But I have, basically, I'm now a part of a guild that a friend of mine set up, where all we do is kill Taqu. And we get faster and faster times. We've got like 16 kills under our belt at this point. There's been loads of Taqu fighting for me. But yeah, so I didn't really realize that on some servers it just wasn't a thing that was happening anymore. And that's true. I always expected that to run out. But I always thought that there would be opportunity for medium-sized and large-sized guilds of any sort of caliber to then, in the game's future, decide, okay, all right, let's imagine that it's 6 months down the line. They would say, oh, shall we fight a mega boss? Okay, which one do you want to go for? Shatterer, Taqu, Claw of Jomag, which one do you want to do? And then we just say, oh, we'll do this one for today, and then they go off and try it out. And maybe the game doesn't have enough things in it, yeah, like you say, to facilitate that, and adding something like a message board that people could use in Lion's Arch would be a good thing. I think that's interesting as well, because if Taqu didn't exist, putting a message board in would have very little use in Guild Wars 2, but now it sort of would. It's sort of a bit like player quests, right? Sort of. I mean, in a lot of games you can create message boards and stuff like this where you say, oh, will you help me do this, or will you do this, this, or this, and I can reward you with this, and it's sort of a set contract that people take. It's almost similar to that, and yeah, I think it's kind of necessary, because... to loop back around to the LFG tool, it's not working for it, is it? Because it only parties you with 5 people. Instead of what this content now requires you to have, 70, 80, 90 people, and hope the rest are made up by randoms. And the LFG tool just does not work for that.
That's one of the things I pointed out when I was interviewing is, are you going to upgrade from 5 people? Because 5 people is just not enough.
Not
It's
for the Living
enough.
World stuff. Not for World versus World.
And if they're going to be adding these raid type of, dragons and revamping them to do like more people, I would think that you'll be able to see, like a bunch of people in your party, and you'll be able to see them on the map, and you can, tell who's there. I guess, it may not be totally needed. But being able to ping and tell people where to go and in one big chat would be pretty cool. Of course, you have the commander thing where you can join their team and you can hear everything they say, but I don't know if it's enough, really.
Well, again, this goes back into what we were talking about earlier. These are quality of life, peripheral things that Guild Wars 2 really needs. And they've talked about, Commander is something that is on their list somewhere. It will become a priority at one day, where we will eventually see commanders get a lot more opportunity to set stuff like this up. And maybe it won't be a message board or something at that time, but maybe that's how they're eventually going to address this. A commander being able to post to everyone in the server or something. Because it's difficult to do, though, because people could easily abuse something like that,
Right, and that's where you add a cost to it, even though, the cost...
And a specific channel. So it's like you've got local chat, map chat, server chat, and you pay to use server chat.
What I was thinking is that it's just like an added tab where you click the message board and then you're going to see a list of messages of people want to post up, like, there's going to be a Taqu fight, right? And it could be categorized as well. All the boss fights, all the, if people want to gain a lot of people for boss fights and stuff like that.
Well,
and I guess like to keep from trolling, you would have to have people that like, okay, this big guild is hosting this. Come join us. Blah, blah. Or this commander that you all know from World v World is hosting this. Come join us. And those are the people that you would join. And of course people are going to have favorites, really, on the message board, really. And I guess they could have like a like system to filter out the trash as well. I mean, it's not easy, but it might be a solution.
Yeah, the other thing I was thinking as well, like in terms of the message board thing, is and this is something I mentioned in my video too, that if something like that is going to work and people are going to be able to organize pushes a long time in like advance, the bosses need to have a much more regular spawning pattern. And I think, I fully expected that eventually it would die away, except for certain guilds that wanted to run that kind of stuff. But I think what they need really is for the respawn time is to drop the respawn time, maybe only have them spawn a couple of times a day, and make it really regular, set in stone. And that allows small servers with less coordination, in conjunction with a message board of some kind would be perfect, but it allows them to have time to all regroup and really focus on one specific spawn. And in that way, the content will stay alive and an active part of the game, rather than any number of the other, world events that never really get done at the moment in game because they don't have a daily chest or because they're too hard. Like, have you seen the Maw recently in game? The shaman in the meta event in Wayfarer Foothills that people run for their daily chest?
Oh, no.
You don't know that? Come on, the Maw where you fight the Norn shaman and he summons 3 portals in Wayfarer Foothills at like the Icy Lake.
Oh, yeah. With the tornadoes and all that, yeah.
And you know that they updated him and made him way, way tankier now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and now people just don't run that anymore, because it's slightly too hard. And we have many examples like this in Guild Wars 2 where people just don't want to run stuff. And that's the push-pull, right? That's the essence of making the entire world feel like it's rewarding to play. It's the push-pull, how difficult it is compared to the rewards. But it's a thin line that you're walking. I think Taqu was redeemed a little bit, and it is very engaging content because it's so difficult. So even if the rewards aren't, always up to par, there will be guilds wanting to do it, which gives it that little bit of an excuse. But it's going to be tricky in the future, and I think, your suggestion would go a long way.
The thing about that, like, it's like, okay, they made them hard. I don't feel like playing it no more. Like, that's a lot of the player base, right? And that's why sadly. They keep giving you the casual crap, right? And people are like, all the hardcore guys, like, please give us something hard. And they get excited and they keep running Taqu over and over again every week. They have a set schedule and stuff like that. But like the casual guys, they're just like, not for me. I don't care. And then they go play Call of Duty for like 2 hours and come back. It's just like it's one of those things, and they're trying to figure out what community to aim their stuff at, I think. And I don't know, like, why it poses a question if the amount of time that you put in, the amount of effort that you put into killing a boss, is the rewards good enough, really? Because if you knew guaranteed that you were going to get an ascended weapon, right, from Taqu, you would wait there hours, and you would keep playing, trying to get that. And if that was like the only way to get that, the ascended gear or something like that, you know?
Yeah,
but there's
I mean,
no
obviously,
guaranteed. The guaranteed loot is just a bunch of loot bags, which is cool, and then a chance. And people don't like the chance thing, and I think that's the reason why they added the tokens. And what people don't want more currency, so it's just like they can't add tokens. So what about adding tokens to the bosses? And you're getting like 1 token for each boss that you kill, and then it adds up to something. But the thing is, it might get over saturated with, you know, you do it all day, you have a bunch of tokens, and now you don't care about it anymore. But yeah, I mean, it's also in the same way of if you keep running the same boss over and over again, you don't care anymore either way. So it's one of those things. It's like, what do we do? Like, I don't even know. I don't even know what I want, really.
Yeah, it is difficult because, I mean, it would be nice to have something guaranteed that people want, but that isn't available elsewhere in the game. That's the important thing. They can't guarantee an ascended weapon because then that devalues all of the ascended crafting and potentially other ways. That
and the mini is not good enough. The mini only pertains to certain people who like minis.
Well, no, not that. The thing with a mini is, to me, right, if they leave the mini ultra rare, then it's really valuable on the trading posts.
You can use it for money. Okay.
But it's really valuable on the trading post, but people, which will make people want to do it, but then they're going to complain that it's too rare. But if then they make it really common, then yay, it's common, but it's also incredibly cheap, and that monetary incentive from the trading post is lost as well. So it's sort of like a lose-lose situation, in my opinion. I'd rather it just be really rare to add that bit of flair rather than anything else. But
I like rare stuff, and I like hard-to-get stuff. Reason why is because I want bragging rights. I think that's the best part of MMOs. Is that you have bragging rights. Oh my gosh. Like in Maple Story, we were just talking about this the other day. Like in Maple Story, you get to level 200 and it's extremely hard to get. You're like, you sit in town and you have all these cool gear and stuff. People are like, oh my gosh, dude, you're like level 200. Like, that's amazing. You get to run dungeons that no one else gets to run. You get to do mega damage to monsters that, you know, it takes a while to defeat. You can solo dungeons, like bosses, in MapleStory just because it's that awesome feeling that you get reward for grinding your stuff. And of course, the combat is good. So I feel like it's missing that if there's not enough rare stuff. And I feel like you know, like legendaries, that's why they're holding back on the scavenger hunt. This is like, okay, if we make the scavenger hunt too easy, then everyone's going to have a legendary, and there's going to be no point. And already, it's kind of not that hard to get a legendary. It's like, all you need is time, really. That's all you need.
Yeah, well, that defines MMOs, though, let's be honest. Like, it doesn't matter that all you need is time, because that's all what MMOs are. But, like, with the scavenger hunt in legendaries, too, they're in a very tricky spot, because everybody wants the scavenger hunt to make it easier to get their legendary, but ArenaNet doesn't want to make it easier to get your legendary, and the idea of the legendary shouldn't be that it's easy to get in the first place. So whatever their scavenger hunt is, all it is an alternative method of getting a precursor that is not RNG. But the community doesn't understand that. That's what that system has to be. And that's all it will be. It will still be incredibly difficult to get one. It's just that it won't be RNG. That is all that matters about it. But people are going to be massively set up for disappointment when they find out, oh, this isn't a really easy way to get a precursor and get my legendary, and there's going to be backlash.
Oh, come on. People think it's going to be easy? Come on. If you guys think it's going to be easy to get a precursor.
They do. They do. No, they think that as soon as this comes out, it's going to be cheap.
That's not what it needs to be. It's a legendary, guys. A legendary.
But this is why people are holding out for this update, because they don't want to spend thousands of gold on a precursor in the trading post. And yes, I do think when the precursor crafting comes out that it will drop those prices, because I do think those prices are a little bit too high, especially when you compare like what I like to do is compare the value of each of the 4 components for a legendary, and when precursor is worth like triple what your like gift of the weapon is, then clearly there's some disparity there that needs to be dealt with. I think it will drop the price a little bit, but it's still going to be incredibly hard to get one. I think the community at large doesn't understand that, and ArenaNet have been holding off putting in the precursor crafting for a long time and trying to find a really good solution because they know that backlash is coming unless they do it perfectly, and I don't think they can do it perfectly. I don't think that solution exists. So, and I commend them for clearly struggling with it behind closed doors right now. But, well, it's just an explosion waiting to happen, which I would like to see.
All right, we have a ton of questions that we picked out. So if you want to be, you know, featured, feature's such a weird word. If you want to, you know, see your question answered, be sure to leave it down in the comments below. So let's get started.
Let's do it. Okay, so the first question is from Noob Brew. Question for next podcast, he says. What do you guys think about raising the level cap from 80 to maybe 90 or something? Do you think it will happen at all in Guild Wars 2?
No.
Really? You think no?
No, because they would have to, all right. It was weird to say not at all because we don't know that. Like you know, you don't know what they have planned. But really, if I think we've talked about this before, if you upgrade from 80 to 90, that means you will have 10 more trait points, right? Which could pretty much turn a build OP.
Yeah, but everyone's got 10 more trait points, and it doesn't have to affect TPVP.
Well, what about PVE?
So what if it affects PVE? Then they just design the content.
They'll design it harder. But like, they would have to change PvP. They would have to change. That would definitely be an expansion thing if they do that. If they do that, but they never did that in Guild Wars 1. I'm pretty sure. Yes, it's a different game entirely, but I don't think it's in the future anytime soon. I think
it might be. They've said that it is something that's on the table. I don't think the Guild Wars 1 comparison is apt anymore, because Guild Wars 2 is built on this idea of more character progression, more statistical progression. That's why Guild Wars 2 has 80 levels at launch rather than 20. By just being excited about the fact there's 80 instead of 20, most of the audience would probably therefore be excited about going up to 90. Yeah, there could be some complications with the way the traits work, but they've already expressed a desire to revamp traits, add new traits as well as skills. So I think that within the scope of the game, you know, I completely agree with you that it will probably only ever happen in expansion. But when we're talking long term like that, and the fact that they already have a view to changing the way traits work and adding new ones, there's going to be redesigns coming to the trait system regardless. And I think that they could do that to accommodate for extra 10 levels.
They already have a backlash for Ascended Gear.
Yeah, but I do think that more statistical progression will eventually come forward. I think that the whole Ascended Gear thing, if anything, is more of a stopper on it, I agree, than anything else. I think that they were probably quite keen to do. I think maybe it was sort of a choice they had to make at some point. Do we go Ascended Gear or more level caps? I think we'll have the same. I think forevermore in Guild Wars 2, we will have, you know, blue, green, rare, exotic, ascended. I think that'll be it. But then I think that, yeah, with expansions, yeah, they can raise the level cap and just keep the same tiers. And yeah, it invalidates what everyone's existing gear would do. And I think that would be the main problem with it. Unless maybe they had some kind of peripheral thing where it's like, okay, if you've got something ascended right now, then that automatically becomes like, I don't know, an exotic 90 or something. It would be difficult, and yeah, I think
it would be a mega difficult. Like, not even the traits and stuff. Like, a whole bunch of it is just like more stat points, more the balancing between PvP. Like, it's going to be ridiculous. I think don't PvP see it any time in the future. Like, not like years. It's gonna be like years down the road. Like, when everyone is just like done. There's new players coming in. You know, like, you know, World of Warcraft, like, it's just like, oh my gosh, it's dying. We better raise up the level cap with Mr. Pandoria. Like that's how I feel like when that's what's gonna happen. You know, when no one cares anymore, when the main player base just doesn't care anymore, that may happen. But I definitely don't think so.
I think they can do it in a healthy way, but it's an interesting,
especially with the gear.
It's an interesting question to ask this a year after launch, because all the way up until Winter's Day last year, I would have said undoubtedly, yes, this will happen. It can be done, and it probably will be done. They've said that they're not against it, and, you know, just the fact that you've brought into 80 levels at the start, why shouldn't you be happy about going up to 90 eventually? But since everything that's happened with Ascended Gear, I do think that perhaps, maybe it's less likely to happen than it was 6-7 months ago. It would be. I'm not against it though, and I think it can be done in a healthy way, and I think it can be done in a way that would appeal to the audience of the game while it's still growing and while the game itself is still in full swing as it currently is. But yeah, good question. That is interesting. That's changed my opinions on it a bit. All right, next one.
Yep.
I really should open these a little bit earlier. Okay. Tiny Warrior 54 says, if either of you could add anything to the game right now, what would it be? Oh, I've got an answer to that. That's a massive question.
Oh, you go ahead, because I was like, oh yeah, I should think of one, and then I did it. So you go ahead.
There's a million. I mean, when you know so much about the game, you're so passionate about it. There's so much you could put in, right? So much.
But that's not a good question. I mean, that's not a good answer. So go ahead.
For me, one thing that I've thought would be a really simple thing that would be pretty interesting that they could do, is, so a big part of endgame right now for Guild Wars 2 is, if you want ectos and you want a reasonable amount of money, aside from boring champ farms, is completing meta events every day. On one character, you can get a daily chest every single day that gives you a guaranteed rare, and more than that now. They've actually started updating it. You know, you can get guaranteed strong boxes and stuff at the same time too. That's a big part of the end game, but the best way to participate in that aspect of end game right now is to have a guild, or at least someone in a guild or yourself, to use like a third-party meta event API app thing that shows you, okay, Temple of Dwayne is going to pop soon, somebody's pushing Malkor right now, it will tell you that Fire Elemental's coming in 30 minutes. But this is like all third-party stuff that a lot of the player base doesn't get to experience. But it is, I tend to find, quite actually a fun way of playing the game, and it's a rewarding way of playing the game too, especially now that they've gone and updated more world bosses. I think we've already talked about how we'd like to see more world bosses in those weird events like Timberline Falls and stuff.
Yeah.
So what I would like to see, one thing I think that would be quite simple, is change really being able to participate in this element of endgame away from just third-party stuff. I'd like to see natively, in-game, ArenaNet add an NPC that you can speak to that tells you happenings interior right now. And through speaking to this NPC, it's actually an in-game, realistic, lore-friendly perhaps way of knowing what is happening in the world and getting those new locations for yourself. You know how within a single map, sometimes a character will come up to you and say, hey, I need to help you, and you speak to them, and then it pops up a little event in the top right-hand corner? Imagine an NPC that can do that, but for a lot of the big meta events that are going on right now. And as an addition to that, I actually have a lot of ideas about the way that could be put into the game. You could either have one character per region, so like a major scout in Divinity's Reach, a reason for people to go to the cities, that will tell you about all the happenings in Crater, and then one for the Black Citadel, one for Ratasum for all the different regions, one at Fort Trinity for Ore, a reason to go to Fort Trinity. We've got all of those Asura gates. Or more ideally, I would love to see this incorporated into the orders, right? Nobody goes to the Chantry of Secrets, nobody goes to the Derman Priory, nobody goes to the Vigil after they've completed their personal story. But they are nonetheless interesting areas. I would like to see those areas no longer be instanced, but, you know, you've got the instance section of them, but there's also a large part that's actually a part of the real world. I would love to see this kind of NPC be stationed in your order. So, this would actually encourage players to, like, if I'm a member of the Derman Priory, I get to go back to the Priory once I'm at endgame, and it makes a lot of sense that people in the Priory are keeping an eye on what's going on interior, and they're trying to send their forces out to help the world. So it's this idea that once you reach endgame, your order plays a bigger role, you're interacting with other people that chose your order, there's that real sense that you're a part of a faction that you don't really get in Guild Wars 2, and you're sort of banding up with your other Priory members or your other Vigil members, and you're going out to defend the world from these big threats. And it's a real way to encourage players to show players how to do this in endgame. I would love to see that. Currently in game, when you hit level 80, you get one mail that tells you about Fractals of the Mists, and I think ArenaNet had a really good idea when they added that there. They realised that Fractals of the Mists, the implementation is wonky right now, so it doesn't serve this function, but they realised that Fractals of the Mists is potentially a form of endgame for this game, and they let you know about it straight away. I'd like to see when I hit 80, I get a mail telling me about Fractals of the Mists, I get a mail telling me about going back to my orders to learn about meta events, which is another part of the end game, and maybe another mail that tells me about living story stuff that's currently going on too, but I mean, they've already got that covered. So every new player that gets in game, they always ask themselves when they hit level 80, what is there to do at end game? There's tons to do in end game for Guild Wars 2 now, but it's like all third
not
party.
Many that people want to do, though. That's the thing. Like, we say that, but like, really, do I want to run dungeons over and over again? I don't want to do all that. There's a lot of stuff for different people. Like, Fractals got boring to me as soon as I hit a high level, and I was just like, I don't feel like doing it anymore. Like, once you have like 30 rings in your bank, I don't care anymore.
Yeah, and it's like I say, the implementation is wonky, and you know, some of it needs to be worked on. I'm not saying that endgame is perfect right now, and there's all this different stuff. Yeah. But I have a lot of fun, and I know a lot of players feel very rewarded and have a lot of fun doing those metas around the world. But it's reliant on something outside of the game.
Yeah, the metas are fun.
So add an NPC in, and while you're at it, actually give a purpose to some of these areas you've got in game. You know, all these order things are just sat there completely unused. This is a perfect opportunity to give them a use. So I've always liked that idea.
So like the scouts, right? And when it shows you the map, and you see like, all the events happening on the map in real time, that would be pretty amazing.
Yeah, and you know, they've now got the LFG tool. They can, if they really, I think it could be a very simple thing to implement, relatively, but you know, they could really expand on that concept and, you know, integrate it with the LFG tool somehow and be like, okay, this meta event's going on, and then there's a button that immediately throws you to the LFG tool that creates a post for you or something. You know, there's a lot of stuff they could do there, and then it's sort of up to you as a player to see which area of Tyria you wish to defend. They could add stuff like, oh, I'm repping the vigil while I do this meta event, so I get, you know, a chance at a vigil drop or something. Do you know what I mean? I just think there's so much there that they just haven't done, and that would be a big asset for the end game. All right, what's your answer?
All right, for me, you know, like, other than the regular stupid stuff that we'll just like get and then toss to the side, like housing and mounts and stuff like that. Those are the cosmetic stuff I like. I like having hard to get cosmetics that show off, you know, like, oh, I did this, you know, kind of like the legendary, and that's why I went for it. Other than that, like, really, like, putting those into the game and then, like, it's not really used, it would kind of suck. So I'm not gonna really use that as an answer. But I would definitely like to see the message board, one with cross server and one with your server, right? Because you can guest, right?
Cross server, yeah.
So for both, I think that's really a good idea. Really, to have that into the game. We really talked with it in length, so I don't have to go into it. But like, you know, having different categories and stuff like that would be, I don't know, it would help the community kind of like okay, like the random new player that's coming in and they want to figure out when they can do this dragon, the person that doesn't have a guild, the person that you know, like, is just lonely and doesn't have anyone, you know, to have a long friends list and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of people. I played MMOs straight out the gate. I enjoyed the game, but didn't have anyone to talk to. I played a lot of MMOs like that. I used to go through the list and download every single MMO and play it, and I just didn't know. And I'm pretty sure people bought Guild Wars 2. You know, it's no subscription fee, situation. So they just bought it and started playing, and they're like, they might have heard of it, and they're like, oh, this is pretty cool. You know, leveled up, didn't really get with any guilds, and this is a way, the message board, like, oh, okay, this event is happening. Oh, there's a naked char event or a naked human event in Lion's Arch at Blackgate server or Emery Bay. You know, and you just guest over and join them and be like, this is something to socialize with. And I think the message board will really be good, because really,
I think you've got really
map chat is not enough, really.
Yeah. Know? And it's not persistent enough. I think you got a really good point. If there's one thing this game needs, it's more ways of sort of talking to each other and stuff, and organizing that kind of thing, because the social aspect of an MMO is sort of its lifeblood. You know, the reason why most people end up going back to WoW, it's not entirely that they know what to expect, is because they've got friends and stuff and, you know, communities there. And when you look back on, for me, when I look back on an MMO, I'm remembering 50% the actual content and fun times I enjoyed, but the other 50% is definitely the people I was there with, and the conversations I had and the fun we had together, kind of thing. Like, that's what MMOs are. People don't play an MMO unless they wanna, unless they like that social aspect, right? So yeah, I mean, I think that's another really, really important thing.
Yeah. I still remember when I used to play RuneScape, and me and my friend used to roll up into a very hard dungeon to try to get this really rare drop from this dragon. It was these dragon helms way back before Grand Exchange and all that type of stuff, when the price was very basically where you were in the world map, and we would sit in there and we'll almost die and drop like really rare stuff, and then we have to work up back to it. The really hardcore content back in the days, before 3D was so amazing now. 3D animation was so amazing now. But yeah, it also tells you that I added the cross server so you can tell what type of events they're having as well. It will be kind of hard to have all that going on. I'm pretty sure that'll be quite a feat to complete if they ever try to actually do this. If any dev is listening to this podcast, definitely, because you'll be able to see, like, if role playing is on Turnish Coast, right? You'll be able to see that through the message board, like, oh, we're having a role-playing big giant world thing, or I don't know, like PvE Taqu kill with a speech in a raid call or TeamSpeak or whatever. Like, it's one of those things. But anyways, yeah,
it's easier. No, I think it's easier as well to do it in game, because most people only really care about the in-game stuff, and they're not out on the forums all the time. So yeah.
That's the same thing with the LFG tool and the website. Not many people know about the LFG website, but the people who socialize and talk.
It's a funny example, that, though, because obviously now that Guild Wars 2 LFG is actually in-game, it's still not being used that much because of visibility, which is pretty funny to me.
Yeah, it needs to have its own, like, I don't know, its own tab or something,
no,
shoved
like
in people's space.
Specific. Well, right now it's with the contacts, which I actually think is kind of cool. But they could do that. Have its own button up in the top left-hand corner. I've seen that suggestion. I think that might be all right. People would at least notice it. But hey, all right. You want to go for the next question?
Yeah.
Imaginary H, that's spelled very weird, says, we all knew that hardcore content was really needed to keep some of the player base occupied. Now that we have that, do you think ArenaNet incorporated it very well? I enjoy the fact that I can just pop into a server and fight the boss if I want to. Not dealing with the hassle of serious guild applications is really nice after spending years of doing that in World of Warcraft. But at the same time, the frustrations of dealing with random people is very real. Do you like it this way? Do you want to go, or me?
All right, so he's talking about Taqu.
Yeah. I would definitely say so.
The way they put it in was basically it spawns every hour or every 2 hours.
50 to 100 minutes.
And if someone doesn't know how this game works and how people think, like, they're gonna go there and they're gonna see no one there. No one there, like, because that's what happened to me. I saw like a handful of people there, right? That was nice enough to revive me when I got down by the poison. So like,
ran into a fish head.
Yeah, like for new players, I don't know. They won't know where to go. They don't have a guild. I mentioned this before. We talked about it. There's not many people there. The message board will definitely help, or some type of way to communicate with everyone. And I know it has a little module on the top right-hand corner saying, oh, the Taqu there, but really, like, no one knows where it is, especially, new players or players who just come in with the wind. They're like very casual. They just come in like, oh, what's going on in Guild Wars 2? Like, a lot of people do that because there's no subscription fee. I don't know. I don't know if this is the only way they're going to implement this type of content. I hope they have another way as well, because I feel like it's just going to fade into the background, these types of open world stuff, Like, I know they said, this is one of the questions I asked to Colin. I was like, is there going to be any more than 5-man stuff, bigger raids and stuff like that, instance, so exactly who you got. They're not going to leave midway, they're going to be there. They're not going to just give up, because in the open world, you don't know, like, people are just random people are there, and they're just like, I don't feel like doing this. I died. I'm just going to sit there dead. Like, it's not organized unless you organize it, and the dungeon would probably be a little bit better when it comes down to that. But it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just right now, as you were saying, one of the deals that it spawns a lot. And it just kind of gets like, okay, Taquado's up. It doesn't matter anymore. Or they're not on. No one's like very dedicated as they once were to keep defeating the boss. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, if individual players want to keep fighting him, then I think there's definitely going to be guilds that exist now that will keep fighting him. It's just a matter of actually seeking them out. And I think that that's going to happen with any kind of hardcore content you add. I find ArenaNet's decision to add Zerg-based hardcore content in the open world pretty interesting. You know, no one does that. No one really does that in other MMOs. It's always instanced. I think it does have its problems. The frustrations of dealing with random people is very, very real. I agree with you completely. And, you know, there isn't that wonderful feeling of... Well, not wonderful feeling. It's kind of a comparison I made. I can't remember if it was on the last VisualWood or on a video of my own I did, where with open world stuff, if you fail, you just feel like poop, basically, because everyone's left. They were all randoms, and it's very unlikely you'll get all those people back. While in traditional instance raids, you actually, you know, it's a guild of people, and you've all actually made tangible progress, and you don't have to feel so bad. I think that there are drawbacks with doing it in the open world, but I also think it's a lot more accessible to people. But does it have to be because it's hardcore? I think that the main, if people want really hardcore stuff, but they don't want to deal with the open world things, then yeah, it's just on ArenaNet's terms now to actually add really hardcore 5-man stuff. There isn't hardcore 5-man stuff. A few people have been like, the Molten Facility was kind of hard, Aether Blade Retreat was kind of hard. No, it was kind of hard for you because you just got 4 of your friends together without specific builds, just doing what you wanted, and you went in and you had a bit of a good time with it, and it took you a long time. That's why it was kind of hard. If you want hardcore content, they need to be angling really difficult stuff, taking into account the really, really min-max culture that will arrive around it, and they haven't done that at all. There isn't difficult content in Guild Wars 2 for instance 5-mans. When that appears, maybe a lot of these frustrations people will feel more okay with because they got their other options. I have to admit, I think I would prefer, you know, hard Zerg-based stuff to be in instances. But you know,
maybe guild missions have something to do with that. They might not add more than 5-man dungeons, but maybe guild missions will come into play, really. Yeah, and have really good rewards with that.
Yeah, I also like I like the idea of a random dude wandering around to Sparklight Fen for his first time, sees Taqu, realizes how ungodly difficult it is for him and the 5 people he's with cannot kill it. Then maybe a week later, he's randomly there again, and he happens upon a guild that's doing a proper mission of it, and he's actually a part of a fight that maybe doesn't kill him, but does a lot of damage, and that's going to be really inspiring to that player, and that's going to be really good. But the point is that that's a very rare circumstance, and it will become more rare as time goes on. Yeah. So again, it's sort of like what I say, to prevent it becoming super, super dead, maybe they just need to look at the rewards, but I want it to stay difficult. It's been an interesting experiment, though, and I think it's commendable that Guild Wars 2 is offering something other MMOs don't. Nobody does hardcore, difficult stuff in the open world, and Guild Wars 2 does. So again, it's made them unique.
Yeah, to clarify, yes, the dragons should always be there. I'm not saying remove them. Those always should be there, because the moment when you walk into a like I can tell, like my friend, once he gets to a level 50ish and then he sees the Shatterer flying over him and then it lands, oh my gosh, he's gonna flip nuts. And and that's exactly what we did at launch, and that is a magical moment. But yeah, next question.
Next question, Mater says, wait, is that a word for mother? I think it is. Alright, question. In my eyes, the last permanent, serious, and at the time challenging 5 people PvE content we got were the Fractals of the Mists. The run 500 Fractals achievement has dinged ages ago. The weapon skins are nearly impossible to get due to the randomness in which they drop. Long story short, the last time we got such content was last November, way too far back in my eyes. What do you think about challenging 5-player content? Is there enough? So I've already been talking about this.
Yeah, basically.
I'll go first, though, here in particular. Fractals of the Mist, I think, is potentially awesome. But there needs to be way more incentive for the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. They need to get rid of the hard cap at the 50s. I think they need to introduce more ways for it to scale rather than just flat damage and health boosts to enemies. I liked how after scale 10, a few different routes they opened up, like in the Colossus Fractal, and we saw slightly different things. I think they should expand that way more. I think even as far as completely exclusive fractal paths, once you've got plus 30 or something, would be nice. And yeah, there needs to be just an overhaul of the rewards there. Fractal rings need to be salvageable for other stuff. Now that we've got all these ascended crafting materials, why not? That works. I think the fractal skins themselves need to not be tied to the rolls of the rings as well. And, you know, tokens for the fractal weapon skins, and maybe even, you know, fractal weapons that only drop after scale 60 and scale 70 that look badass. There's potential there for Fractals of the Mists. It's just implemented poorly. There's not enough 5-man, as I've just said. I think 5-man challenging content. You got anything to add with that?
No. You pretty much said it all.
Yeah, all right. So, I mean, yes, I think it's a big part for the game right now. I think that, you know, maybe we'll see one more mega boss added, and then ArenaNet as a whole sort of will start prioritizing the 5-man stuff too. Because I miss the feeling of doing those old... They were frustrating and difficult, and story was way too hard, and the scaling's always been off. But I miss, you know, really struggling through the old Ascalon Catacombs explorable with masterwork gear and low stuff. Like, that was awesome. And you just don't get to experience it anymore. So, yeah, I want it. I'm looking forward to it. It's not there. Anyway, next question. Hello, Mr. Happy Panda. Hello. Thanks for the courtesy laugh. Here's a serious question. What would you guys think about a race change service? Only for level 80s that resets your personal story level to 1, but lets you change your race to whichever you want. I know I would benefit since I have 280 Guardians, specifically because I wanted a different race.
I have 2 level 80 Guardians, by the way, so I'm in the same boat. I made an Azura first off, and I was like, holy crap, they're too small. Everything looks like toothpicks. And I was going to get a legendary, and I was like, no, I don't want a legendary toothpick. So I made a Nord, the total opposite of an Azura. I don't know if they would do this because I think it's a little bit of a technical problem, really. Resetting all the personal story and all that, like... It might not work. I mean, they might do that in the future. I definitely don't think it's anytime soon. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of those things where it's just like it's so connected to everything that you do, like the personal story. So
it's a lot of aggro for essentially a very, very small thing, right, that not many people are looking for. I mean, why, if you're going to change your race, you've basically just changed everything about your character except the name. And you can do it in the opposite way. You can change your name instead, right? I mean, I guess there's profession too. But it's going to be... I reckon this is exactly one of those things that ArenaNet's like... you know, back when they were adding name changes and stuff, they were like, okay, right, well, we want to let people have sex changes and name changes and complete makeovers. Do we want to let them change their race? Ooh, that looks really difficult to do. Well, we can do the rest of this stuff. Okay, maybe sometime in the future we'll put it very low priority on the list.
Yeah.
I think it would, you know, an ideal world, but you would never catch me asking for this instead of multiplicity of other things. Like, there's no way. But, you know, some people, I can see the desire for it, but it's not at the top of my list, and I didn't think the community in general wants it that much either. Question 6. Milladin, that sounded like a really dismissive answer, but yeah. Question 6. Milladin Contic says, we know Matt has a wife. Does the beautiful, elegant... You can't do questions like this. I'm very private about... Does the beautiful, the elegant, and the wonderful Wooden Potatoes have someone special? And when we will get to see how he looks like, we are so curious. You can't get to see what I look like or stuff like this because I like the intrigue behind it. To make everyone annoyed though, if you're watching this, when I reached like 1,000 videos, I recorded like 7 hours of Q&A, like really personal Q&A where I just answered.
Did you upload all of it?
But I didn't upload all of it. I accidentally deleted the last half of it.
Oh.
And like I had like a half an hour talk about romance and love and like my history and stuff. It was crazy. I like gave people my middle name, loads of cool stuff, and then I just ended up not uploading it. It was pretty crazy, man.
Yeah, I listened to both of them. I think you uploaded 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were like, to be fair, they were like an hour and a half each, so it was at least three of the 7 hours that was up. But yeah, so yeah, next question. Question 7. What professions this one's pretty nice. Which profession do you think is the most underrated?
Man, it's weird to say if any of them are really underrated. Man, I have to look up the stats of what's the least played. I felt at launch that Necros, I don't know if they still are pretty underrated. And man, they're just like, they just don't die in PvE. Like if you want a PvE beast, you play Necro, and that's it. That's a new game.
I watched a video of a guy playing a Condi Necro, like proper Condi Necro, hardcore min-maxed out the buttocks, and it was pretty cool seeing it. There was a lot of numbers. It was pretty interesting. I think people do underappreciate condition damage because Condi specs, right?
Yeah.
If they're properly made, are strong. They are so strong, but only in a specific comp that doesn't overlap with other Condi, because you can't stack 5 Condi. That's the problem. Like if we're talking about 5-man content, Condi classes can work, but they have to be in specific group setups, which isn't something you see so much of in Guild Wars 2. So I think, though, that the most underrated profession, I think the most interesting profession that can do a lot of stuff is engineer. I think engineer's got so many interesting little quirks and cool stuff about it that people just don't fully understand or appreciate. But it's different for like PvE and PvP. I think right now LE is quite underrated in TPVP. It's barely played in the meta at all, but there are a lot of viable, and you know, it's obvious. I would say that as someone who mains an LE, I've been playing LE all the way through this horrible meta at the moment, and there are viable things you can do with it. So you know, it depends on what region of the world you look at.
Right, definitely, and it would have to be engineer as well. I have the stats here. Okay, Mesmer and Engie, 10% of the population use those classes. Necro, 12%. And Guardians, 12%. Thieves are 13%. Elementalists are 13%. Rangers are 14%, surprisingly. And Warriors, of course, are 16%. Everyone plays a dang Warrior.
Thank you, they do. People in my guild will not, like, accept that. People always play Warrior.
Everyone
it's the generic...
plays a Warrior, dude. The devs play Warriors. Everyone plays a Warrior. And they keep making them overpowered. Dang it.
I'm making a Sentinels Warrior at the moment, right? Which is stupidly expensive.
Yeah, you told me 41,000 health if you get that build right.
If you get everything right and you're still
gold.
Yeah. Oh my god. It's not just the build though. It has to be like you have to be in world versus world with the right buffs. But it's like 38,000 health, just generic wandering around, and you can like pop a rampage to triple your base health and stuff. Oh, I can't wait. It's gonna be so good. I'll do barely any damage, but it'll be really good. And the thing is, what I like about Taqu as well is it's actually made it more supporty or tanky specs actually viable, because now I'm actually sort of useful super tanked out, you know, really tanky, because I can now sit on a turret and I'll be alright, or I can be up there with the Zerg of people, and as long as I've got, you know, heavy power damage at the same time, which Sentinels does, I can be of use if I had like a commander tag or something, because I'm like this permanent force that won't move there. With builds like that, you know the fish heads that just one-shot you if you walk into them?
Yeah.
You can just like walk into one and be fine and just shrug it off and like, haha.
I love being tanky.
Fish head didn't kill me.
That's
yeah, man.
Because all I do is I'm that guy that brings everyone up and keeps giving them boons over and over and over again, and so much healing. There's so much you know, like support going there, and that's why I love being the Guardian.
That's a big theme of the next patch as well, making support more viable in different ways, like in terms of the skill balance and stuff. I don't know whether it will be this Twilight patch coming up, but when they do the skill balance, it looks like that it's all sort of angled towards of support specs and working on support, because Guild Wars 2 is mostly just a DPS race at the moment. So yeah, supporty stuff. But back to the question, what profession do you think is most underrated? That would probably be mine, NG. Most overrated or in the worst place at the moment, I think, is Thief. I think Thief really struggles in PvE. It struggles to do useful stuff in, I mean, really min-maxed Zerk DPS races. Sometimes they can be good in some dungeons, but I think for a lot of content, Thieves just, poor Thieves. They're not doing very well at the moment.
It's weird that Mesmers are 10%, because Mesmers, man, like... They're extremely useful, like in so many ways, and I feel like they should spread that usefulness to other classes as well. Like the Mesmers is useful in so many ways other classes is not. Those portals and those time warps, everything.
Veils, mass stealth for everyone. Yeah,
it's they have everything.
Signal of inspiration plus 24 might to the whole Zerg if they're with a guardian or group.
Let me tell you something. If Mesmers didn't have those skills, what would be a Mesmer? Would they be useful?
Rubbish.
Rubbish.
Not that good, yeah.
Exactly.
It sounded weird hearing you say rubbish.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Like I feel like they should. I guess that's Mesmer though. I guess that's Mesmer though.
Yeah,
I guess that's Mesmer.
Yeah, because you can't be like, oh, if they didn't have these skills, they'd be rubbish. We should give these skills to everyone else, because then it's like, oh, we've just destroyed this profession. Yeah.
Even though I would love Guardians to have time warp and stealth, of course.
Well, you've got Tome of Wrath. You can quickness people for 5 seconds, half the time, but you can do it.
Tome of Wrath. Those tomes suck. Guardians have the worst elites in the world, man. Everyone uses renewed focus. I don't care who you are, you use it. Okay, because it's the best dang thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. It is pretty strong.
Yeah,
the tomes are cool though. I like the AoEs and stuff on them. They just need to be worked on. Anyway, Piers Hansen says, do you think these revamped boss fights would be better as instant? We've already talked about this.
Yeah, we I knew a lot of these questions were going to overlap because we just kind of ramble on and we share our thoughts in all aspects. So I think we talked about this, yeah.
One interesting thing this person says, though, is that if you do make these really difficult world bosses instance, you actually have the option of making them harder because you have pre-made groups. Yeah, that's something to account for, I guess. But, I mean, difficulty is difficulty, right? It doesn't matter if it's difficult in the open world. Yeah, no, I get. Yeah, I would like to see that. If it was instance, they could add more gambits and stuff and interesting things. But I think it's commendable that Guild Wars 2's got such crazy, difficult, interesting content in the open world, and I'd rather not see that go away.
They're probably gonna revamp the other dragons, so you're not gonna see it go away anytime soon. And every time they bring a new dragon, it's probably gonna be the same way. It's probably gonna be some big open world thing, and I guess people are gonna be like really excited for this type of stuff.
Yeah. Next question is a difficult one, so can you agree to answer it first?
Oh gosh, yeah. Why did I pick this one? Holy crap.
Levicus, what is it about Guild Wars 2 that keeps you playing? It's just so generic. It's very difficult.
Yeah, but it's a question. It's a legit question, though. It's a legit question because a lot of people have a problem with this. Of course, the people who listen to us don't have a problem with it. Well, I think a lot of people who comment on my patch videos, they're like, oh, I haven't played in a while, but I just like watching you and seeing what's going on in Guild Wars 2.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, so they're not playing. They're just kind of seeing if the patch is good enough for them to come in and log in and play. What keeps me playing other than the YouTube channel, right? Because that is a factor. Is really the community, and it has a lot to do with being social with, like the guild and having people that you play with do a couple dungeons and stuff like that. But like, really, like I feel like Guild Wars 2 is missing that special something that makes me want to be like, holy crap, I gotta get this. After the Legendary, I don't have that goal anymore, and Legendary was that goal for me.
Yeah.
To log in and say, holy crap, I got to get this. Not to say I don't play because I have a Legendary, but like that was like the main one, and I don't have a main one anymore. Right now, what I do is dungeons and the patches, and I play the patches. I don't really play the regular stuff anymore, like during the world,
other than from last year,
and other than leveling. Yeah. Other than leveling, I level a character. That's pretty much what keeps me playing the patches and leveling characters.
Yeah,
slowly, very, very slowly.
I never I never really enjoyed. I enjoyed leveling the first time, but I got very sick of heart quests very quickly. I found them to be entirely unreplayable.
Especially the dynamic events that don't spawn when you're trying to do the hearts. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, but recently I've been leveling that warrior, as I say, and I actually have so much fun leveling in Ascalon areas and the Char areas. They're so good. But for me, like, I guess I just feel like there's a lot of ways for me to get goals in the game. I have several goals that I'm going on right now. The Sentinel's Warrior is sort of like, for me, it's like, holy crap, I can get this much health. I'm really looking forward to just running into a Zerg head on in World vs. World and just seeing how long it can survive and stuff. You know, I think that's going to be really fun. I also... I'm a bit of an achievement hunter. I don't do every single daily every single day, so like I'm slowly dropping on the leaderboards. But I love getting achievements, and one big goal I've got is I want to finish my general section. Like, you know, you've got achievements general, and then it's got hero, slayer, weapon master, community, you know, all those. I'm like really close in every single one of those categories to just maxing it all out and having every single achievement, and that's like I have no way of showing that to people at all in game. There's no title that says, oh, you have every single achievement kind of thing. But I am really excited about doing that, and that's what, like, one long-term goal for me. You know, I log in, I kill a couple of giants a day. Well, not every single day. I will kill giants when it crosses my mind to do so. I will work on doing like the AFK weapon farms. I'll work on getting every single achievement from the patches and stuff. And that's kind of a big goal for me. There's actually some really interesting stuff that they've done with the game in terms of, you know, nobody has, I think people are just, there's like a couple of people in the entire game to have those 15,000 achievement point titles at this point. And that's really cool. You know, there's a title in this game now that's really exclusive, really difficult to get to. And when you have it in Guild Wars 2, people are going to stop and go, whoa, you have 15,000 achievement points and you've got that special title for it now? That's awesome. And there's a 20,000 achievement point title, and there's more and more and more. So achievements is like a big thing for me, as well as, yeah, playing these patches, because I can't get enough of the patches. That's kind of what keeps me playing, I think, in addition to, you know, the community and just like having an established guild that I run with, and, you know, just seeing what new stuff Arena put in. I've always got something to do. That's the thing, always. Like, I've got 2 legendaries now. The legendaries aren't really on my list, but I would eventually like to get the Minstrel and the Bifrost, and then just be like, look, I'm rocking every single Elementalist legendary, or get 5 so that, again, I can finish off that title. You know, there's stuff like that. It just goes on and on and on for me. There's a lot of stuff I get excited about in terms of small goals. I'm done. Right. Are we ready to move on?
Yeah. We talked a little bit about this first question, but his second question is pretty good.
Strider Shinryu says, another couple of questions, only sort of related to Taqu. What do you see as the future of Condi in PvE, given that much of what currently exists, notably the new Taqu, makes Condi burns builds nearly useless, due to structures and Condi stacks? Also, what are your thoughts on the current overflow system and things like guesting and home servers? Alright, I'll start with the Condi thing. I think Condis and boons, for that matter, are just really poorly designed. I think that, how exciting would combat be, right? If getting to 25 stacks of might was like this ultra rare 0.5% of the population have ever seen it happen since the launch of the game. Ridiculous. Oh my god, this is insane nuke damage that is just almost impossible to achieve. How cool would that be if like reaching 25 stacks of bleed or 25 vulnerability or 25 might was actually like this really rare and interesting occurrence in the combat system? I would love that, but instead we see that these things get maxed out constantly. 25 stacks of vulnerability, whatever. Nobody even cares if there's 25 stacks of vulnerability, unless you've got some trait that procs that in a special way. 25 bleed, who cares? 25 might, okay, that's kind of interesting, but nobody really cares. I kind of want to just see that all be revamped, just completely. I want to see them just break down what Condi is at the moment, break down the boon system, and implement it in a way that does make it really exciting to see the caps get maxed out, and at the same time, actually make Condi viable, because this person's right, Condi just is rubbish the way it currently works. Only one person could be the guy that's put poison on him, so I mean, that's even worse than bleeds. People always look at bleeds, oh, because it's only got 25 stacks. Burning's worse, poison is worse, torment is the only nice Condi at the moment, and maybe we will see that they eventually fix that by you know, adding new Condis.
That's why it's always weird when you're going into a Zerg, right, and you're defeating champions or whatnot, and you're a Condi class, and it's just like, oh, it's like, where's my damage? You know?
Oh, I'm doing 100 damage a second.
Yeah. It's just like, So, and especially if you spend a lot of money, and then you end up playing these Zerg fests, you know, and you're like, you're just very, like, you know, disappointed in your Condi class.
See,
but yeah.
Well, I was going to say, like, Torment, like, they added Torment, and it's a very rare condition. And it's sort of almost in the place where I think all boons and Condi should be. If you see 25, if you're in World vs. World, right, and you see 25 stacks of torment on you. Like, that's actually pretty interesting. That's something cool. That's like a moment where you're like, wow, that's almost like notable enough that you'd want to post it online and be like, wow, look at all this stuff. Like, almost. It's not quite there. I think all boons and Condi should be like built around that. You know, if you get max stacks, then that's something really, really crazy to behold. So maybe the answer to this is continually adding more conditions that help to diversify the classes, and then they can start pulling back on the sheer amount of bleeds that people get, and, you know, make it so that you really have to specifically go for certain Condis. The problem there, of course, is you add too many Condis and the learning curve gets steeper and steeper and steeper. And the whole reason they removed all the complicated and interesting nuances of Guild Wars 1's hex system was so that they could have just a couple of raw Condis and they did all the busy work and people just learnt them. So you can't add too many before it's basically what's the difference between this and hexes. But, you know, I think that could be a start at the very least. What do you think about the second question as well?
Man, it's hard to say, oh, you know, they need to expand how many people are on different maps and stuff like that, because like we had this problem with Taqu, where, you know, like not everyone could get in the same map, so we end up trying to use the overflows. There should be an easier way to, if they're gonna do this, because really if you have too many people on the map, it'll get the bosses will get easier, right? Because there's just many people just burning through the boss, because everyone's attacking the boss and there's like so many people. But the thing is, if they're gonna be, you know, keeping that player limit, they should make it easier to transfer to different overflows, I think. And they used to have, I don't know how they would do this, but they used to have something like channels. You've seen a lot of Korean MMOs do this. There's channels in the
districts.
servers. Yeah, districts. Yeah, in Guild Wars 1. I don't know how it would work cross server, because a lot of cross servers are in these overflows. But everyone has like these overflows maybe that you can just pick.
And you can just drag and drop, drop down box, and then you click through. Yeah.
Right. The thing is, if you don't want people choosing to do that while they're in the open world, because then everyone will spread out again. You will split out the player base again. The
way that districts worked was there weren't additional districts available unless there were a lot of people in the original one, right? So if I'm in a dead area, I can't choose to go to Overflow 2 because Overflow 2 doesn't exist, and that way people are still sort of together. It's not like, oh, there's 100 different instances of the Sparkfly Fen that I can choose to go in right now. It's just they're more open up as they are necessary, and in that way, yeah, you could say, okay, everybody join Overflow 33 from our guild, please, and then we're all in together, and yeah, it would actually work. And you know, they could add quality of life stuff there, like on the drop down box you see how many guildies are playing in there, how many friends are playing there, how close to being full it is. You know, there's information they could put on. I think that'd be really helpful for the game, because overflows are just sort of this archaic thing that's now become a big problem. Yeah,
you have to, in order to transfer to overflows, you have to join a party and then join their overflow. It's pretty hectic, especially if like you're in the middle of a boss fight or something like that. You have to find someone who can do it for you and stuff like that. I mean, it's not too crazy, but it's a bit of an inconvenience. Other than that, guesting is good. And home servers, I think, are good as well. I mean, if you could just transfer to any server, then there'll be no server loyalty, and World vs. World will become a crazy pile of cluster.
Yeah, I think home server, for me, I only really care about home servers for World vs. World. I don't care about server loyalty in terms of PvE, which is why I think if they added districts for PvE, then I don't care that they're sort of all like overflows to be chosen from. I don't really care that they're all pulled together. Okay, next question. Unless you had something else to say on that.
Nope.
01 Backup says, what is your favorite TV show?
Whew. Man, I've watched many. Okay. All right. I can't just pick one because there's many. Like, not many, but like, I'll say a top few, right? I think about less than 5. I really like Castle, right? That's with Nathan Fillion from Firefly.
Okay.
He's been in a few. I really like that show. How I Met Your Mother, Big Bang Theory. But How I Met Your Mother is like really up there. How I Met Your Mother is one of my favorites. Castle, Big Bang Theory. Suits is another really good one. I don't know if it's like top, but it's another really good one. I have yet to watch Breaking Bad, so that can't be on my list just yet. But those are a few from the top of my head. No. Sherlock is one of my favorite shows of all time. Sherlock is another really, really, really good show. Walking Dead is also good. Game of Thrones is also good, but everyone likes those. Like,
that's the thing.
That's the thing. Yeah, I wouldn't say they're really good shows. I wouldn't say they're my favorite. Walking Dead more than Game of Thrones, though. But they're all different shows. Yeah, go.
For me, it's like you say, I have been super into GOT, I have been super into Walking Dead, I have been super into Breaking Bad, but they're all sort of contemporary shows that everyone's loving on anyway. There are a lot of shows. I hate saying my favourite of something because I will have always forgotten something. Like, for example, I really like The American Office. I love the original British Office. The American Office, I think... Seasons 1, 2, and 3 are like the greatest display, among other things, the greatest on-screen romance that I have ever seen in my life. I think that is like top-notch, unbelievably good, really, really high-quality television for like that romance angle, like a love thing that was going on between two characters there. I think that was incredible, but that's only like one nuance of that show. Do you know what I mean? So like, it's so hard to say my favorite. At the moment,
many. I watch so many.
Yeah,
even bad shows I enjoy. Really bad acting, yeah. I like Fallen Skies. It's good. The acting is a little hit and miss, but I really enjoy the story.
For films with me, like I wouldn't say I love everything. There are some things that I'm just like, I can't get through it. Like I tried to watch $1 Million Baby a while ago, and just like
$1 Million Baby.
It's like this boxing film that apparently was really good, and I tried to give it as long as I possibly could. I was like, it's gotta. But the way all the actors talked, it was just so unconvincing. They were like, "Oh, I'm a hardened boxer from years ago." Like,
I find a lot of those movies, not a lot, but some of those movies that are like, like, oh my gosh, they won awards, it's amazing. Were like, some of them were just like, oh, what is this? What is this crap? Like, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. You ever watch that crap?
No.
I gritted my teeth through that movie, and I was like, I'm gonna watch this. And Sherlock was in it. Benedict Cumberbatch, the same guy who plays Sherlock, the same guy who plays in Khan as in Star Wars. Not Star Wars. Oops. Star Trek. Star Trek.
I think you've done that twice now. I'm sure you've done that twice.
It's Star Trek, Star Wars. It's like they copied each other.
It's all the same. What's the difference?
Also, Firefly is one of my favorite shows as well. It's so it is so hard. It is so hard because I've watched so many. Me and my wife sit down and watch some series all the time, and we really enjoyed that. But some of them, of course, stay in our mind more than others, like How I Met Your Mother, Firefly, and how Firefly just ended, and you would never know. You'll never know the stories of some of those characters that you've loved so much, and you've grown. Oh man, the pain. I enjoyed Alphas, and that got canceled as well. Heroes was pretty good, but I hear
season 1 of Heroes was good, and then it just got bad.
It deteriorated so bad, dude. Like, a guy loses his powers, and he never gets it back. And it's just like, what did you do to my show? It's just like,
that sounds pretty good.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. At first it does, and then it continues on for seasons. Not for a season, seasons. And I'm not talking about 1, not 2, but 3, but the rest of the dang show.
That sounds good to me. That sounds all right.
Yeah, you know what? Go ahead and watch it.
I have heard it's bad though. Yeah.
Suffer through it, and it's such a good show, and they just. I don't know. They screwed it. Okay,
a show like that
with
that I
liked really big drill.
Another one like that that I was really into. One of the first shows I ever super got into, forums and stuff, was Lost. And people didn't like how that ended in the end. But that was
don't say it. I still haven't watched. Dude, I went through the whole season with my wife and stopped at the last season. And
Why?
Didn't finish, and we still haven't finished to this day.
Well, I'd go for it. You may have to rewatch stuff. I liked everything about the way that show ended and stuff. It got a... I won't say, I don't want to spoil stuff. But yeah, I mean, that was one show I was big into. It got a bit hard to watch. Yeah, well, yeah, and it's going to be hard for any casual viewer to watch that kind of thing. And, you know, then it just had that problem.
Not casual at all.
I mean, when the show was being aired, that was like a big problem, and like there was a lot of stuff that was I can't talk about it since you haven't watched it. Damn you.
No, but other people. It's not just me. It's other people.
Well, anyway, that was one show. Another one that I like a lot of very dry. For like comedies and stuff, I don't really like a lot. I gotta be honest, a lot like the American kind of. I don't know, shows? Out there comedy. I like very dry, very black, very sarcastic humor, and a lot of British humor is like right up my alley, and I really, really enjoy it. Like a cult following show a show that's got a bit of a cult following, I guess, that I really like and really we're quite into at the moment. It's Peep Show. I love Peep Show, and that's like a British. There's a lot of stuff like that is more up my alley. So I always find it kind of interesting when.
You ever watch Luther? From also BBC?
No.
And how could you be?
Because I don't know.
British?
I'm not that into like.
No, I haven't finished your question yet. How could you be British and not watch Doctor Who?
I know. Well, yeah. I thought that was what you were going to say. And Sherlock. I don't know. I just.
Sherlock is one. It's an amazing show. Amazing, dude. It's really good. Even though episode 2 was a little. But
I watched a bit of the Tennant Doctor Who stuff. I did watch a bit of the Tennant Doctor Who stuff, and there was like this episode.
Even my wife likes him the most, but I like. What
was years ago?
Matt Smith the most.
He was the guy that replaced him, right?
Yeah. And
it's only because he's got the same name as you.
And the older Doctor is coming out now. Like he's gonna be older.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we are talking too much about TV shows. Let's move on to the next question.
All right, we got 2 left. Let's try and get through them as well. I hate to cut it short for people, but I'm really worried my Audacity's gonna crash. So, Mullo Madness says. More activities, love them or hate them. I personally love them and think there should be more. Examples would be things like playing cards or gambling style games in pubs. Triple Triad! Why doesn't Guild Wars 2 shamelessly rip off Triple Triad? That would be the greatest thing in the world. That's the Final Fantasy VIII card game, by the way. You would be able to join friends and guildies in a game of poker where you could bet gems or gold. This would also mean toons could sit in chairs, which is sad that you can't do, and more environment interaction. I think this guy has like blended different features. Like sitting in chairs has got nothing to do with activities, really. Yeah, I think it'd be cool.
No. What he's saying is that since you AFK in Lion's Arch, why not add a mini game while you're in Lion's Arch? You can just pull up a chair and your character sits, and another guy who's playing poker or whatever sits in the other chair, and people can watch it.
I think that'd be a cool
amazing
feature.
And hard to implement, but he was talking about the mini games and the more activities. I would love more activities. I don't want the stuff they've been putting out though. Like if they're gonna put out more of this, crab toss and all that, I don't like them because you can't play with your friends. There's no point of the game. There's absolutely no point of me playing the game unless I can play with my friends. I'm sorry. I play it once or twice to get the achievement. That's it. There's no point. No point. Okay.
Yeah, I completely.
I don't want to play crab toss with a bunch of randoms. I don't care. The game is not that fun for that. The game is fun when you're playing with friends.
Yeah, that's a huge problem with activities. I completely agree. I do my daily activity every day. I actually really like the daily rotation that they do. I enjoy them quite a lot. I think South Sun Survival is pretty good.
Yes.
But yeah, you've got to be.
Good.
You've got to be able to play with your friends, and I'm totally down for more activities. Do consider as well that at Halloween we're going to basically be getting more activities, but I don't know whether they'll only be there for Halloween. Probably will. Some of those are really good. They did like a MOBA style one at Halloween. Did you play that? A PvP MOBA style?
What? Really?
Yeah, they did, and they did something a lot like South Sun Survival last year at Halloween too, in like a ghost labyrinth, and like when it was like zombies, right? If you died, you became that's cool. They're cool mini games.
I didn't get to play it actually. That's weird.
They're good games
back then.
they're good games. Like they were really well done. Honestly, I enjoyed them a lot, but you can't play with your friends, and that is a huge issue. So I'd like to see more. Yeah, keep them coming. I think they're pretty smart with the way that they've been doing them.
Sanctum Sprint and Sunset Survival are probably one of my favorites, though.
And what do you know? They're two of the newest ones.
Exclusive, yeah. Yeah, because they get better. I think
Snowball
Arena
fighting
gets better when they add more stuff. Huh?
Snowball fighting at Winter's Day was good as well. Very good. It was very TF2 style, capture the flag type thing with different classes for your character. You could be a heavy, a medium, or sort of a scouty guy, and they all felt good. The skills were well balanced. ArenaNet really do shine when they get to just sort of take a really controlled environment where they decide everything about your skills and your abilities and stuff. And they've made some good games. It's just limited because you can't get in with that other mini game where you were playing the bells at Winter's Day. I like them all. I think they're all really good.
Yeah. The mini game with the bells. See these type of mini games like Southland Survival and the bell ones. Like you don't really need to be playing with like your friends. Like it's fun.
Oh, South Sun's great with your friends though.
Yeah. I ended up getting like 4 guildies in, and we will protect each other and kill everybody else. Even though it was extremely hard because all the wisp would pretty much do a carca bomb and kill us. That was probably number 1. That's number 1 in my book is South Sun Survival. Most fun I've had with a mini game. But we didn't really answer like his questions. Would you like to see like a poker type of game? I would love to see a poker type of game. And I would like for it to be social, like he was saying, like you pull up a chair. That would be great. Hard to do, but great. Because I don't think it's in the system.
I don't think the chair thing's that hard to do. I mean, that would be pretty easy. If you look at stuff like Belcher's Bluff, you can just summon a table out of anywhere and just stand there with other people. And Belcher's Bluff is essentially what you're asking for. It's not that fun, right? And it costs money to get each kit. So there's implementation issues to be worked through there.
I totally forgot about Belcher's Bluff as soon as it was implemented. I was like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. I was actually thinking of doing this cool thing where we would be like drinking Belcher's Bluff in all different areas of the world with like one of my guildies, which would be kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, so I think it is possible. I think poker, maybe it sort of fits in the universe. It could be fun. People know how to play poker, and poker's an interesting game in itself. So maybe they could do that. I would like to see like a proper trading card game within the game kind of thing, like Triple Try. Did you ever play Final Fantasy VIII?
Yes, I did, but I don't remember Triple Try. I don't remember how to play it or anything.
All right. Well, anyway, it was basically this idea of a card game. You could play against one another, and the winner would get to have one of the opponent's cards, and it was sort of like you'd collect more and more cards, and it was just a really good game, and I've always thought it'd be really good for MMOs. Obviously, they can't just shamelessly rip off someone else's concept, but something like that that you can collect. This is another thing about minis. People have been talking about how there haven't been many quality of life improvements for minis since launch, and I'm wondering if ArenaNet are just holding them off until the point where they can include minis into full-on polymock that would be this kind of game you could just play with other people around you. But they actually talked about as well how basically WoW did it and sort of at launch, and then they were like, ours isn't as good. Just as they launched, WoW did their expansion that had like their mini game fights, and ArenaNet's wasn't so good, so it was just sort of left out kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe one day we'll get it through minis. I would love to have more use to minis and stuff, but maybe that's a different topic completely. Are you ready for the last question?
Yes.
What did you pick for it? Is it a good one? Okay, Mina, Fed the Unicorn, says, are you guys content with the underwater combat system, and or do you think it deserves more attention from ArenaNet? To me, it feels like a good feature, but I don't really use it, only if I'm forced to, like dailies, weapon kill achievements, or fractals. Is it more useful in PvP than PvE? Since I have no idea about PvP, it makes me kind of sad to see how little attention it gets, especially because many classes don't even have sufficient skills in there.
Competitive PvPers hate underwater combat. They consider it like not even part of PvP. Like they don't even go on the maps.
There's one map with a little bit of water in it at the moment that just does not see tawny rotation whatsoever, and it's likely that map is just like gonna like just change before they change underwater combat kind of thing. Like underwater is just no. Basically.
Yeah, no one like you feel so underpowered when you go underwater, except for like I guess when you're level 80 and you have certain skills that are OP like the thief and their evades and stuff like that. But like I don't know, like when I'm leveling, they they tell you early on, like it's like the game is speaking to you early on that underwater combat sucks because when you go underwater and you're a low level, dude, you get like you have to run away because you can't damage them enough. It's so bad. It's so bad, and they need to change that. Like underwater combat is just not
I think
satisfying.
that's just you not keeping up with your gear, man.
No,
if you keep up with your gear,
no, it's not. Like as soon as I spawn, come on, dude. As soon as as soon as I make my character in the first Wafer foothills, you know where the bears, we have to feed the bears the fish, and you have to go underwater just to get the skill point. Yeah.
All right, that could just be one problem area in the world.
No, that's everywhere. That's everywhere, dude.
I don't know, man. I've been leveling this warrior. I've been fine underwater, though. I've never had problems leveling underwater combat ever.
Nah, it takes too long to kill stuff. For me, I just
are you keeping your spear guns and spears, you know, at your old level and stuff?
Yeah, just sucks.
That's weird. I've never experienced that. That's very odd. Maybe we've just like played totally opposite
Maybe that
professions.
is the problem. I'm just not seeing it. That like I'm just not updating my trident.
Because who wants to? And that's a part of the problem, you know? Who wants to deal with that stuff? I heard a very interesting thing while we were fighting Taqu. Some person said to fix underwater combat. But I think the main problem with it, all the pieces are there. I think everything just needs to be looked at and sort of rearranged so that everyone's got something. Like, there's so many interesting skills underwater. Like, every time I load into a new profession and go underwater, I see, there's a lot of really cool, weird stuff going on underwater. It's just shy of the mark of being really good. I think the main thing is you have very little customization over how you fight underwater. And I heard one really interesting, nice suggestion to just have a single new trait line that you can allocate points in anyway, like that doesn't detract from your other points. And it's an underwater trait line, and all the stuff you pick in there and the attributes you get, like the more points you invest in it, you swim faster or something, or you know, any kind of thing that just specifically is there to interact with and customize the way you play underwater. I think that would be a nice thing to help it. I think the environments under there are quite beautiful. I think that there is stuff.
That's the best part about underwater, I think, is the environments and swimming
seeing
through
like the sunshine
and find
through
all the crevices and stuff like that. Like there's some areas that people just don't see, especially even in Lion's Arch. In Lion's Arch, if you ever swim around in the water, like it's really cool stuff down there, and no one sees it because no one really cares about underwater.
Yeah, you know? And like you could do other small, but instead of just a full new trait line, how about underwater headpieces? If we're going to have them, the upgrade slot in that underwater headpiece has to be one of a selection of like 10 specific runes that all give you an interesting different element to underwater combat or something, you know, like a specific, like that's the main thing lacking there. I think the skills are lacking. Like some people are really overpowered, engineers are super overpowered underwater, but also there's no real way to customize your character or feel like you've got, you know, it's very limiting. I think that detracts from the experience quite a lot too. But overall I like it, and I think a lot of people forget that underwater combat in most MMOs is really crappy, and Guild Wars 2 is miles ahead of those, like miles and miles and miles ahead, and yet people still complain about it. And it's like, I take what you can get at the very least. It will be improved though one day, hopefully.
One day, I'm pretty sure that it's in the cards, but yeah.
It's about priorities. It's about, yeah, that's it. That's the last question.
Holy crap, this is the longest. This is the record for the longest VisualWood.
Well, in one session as well.
Wow, that sounded wrong.
That's what she said.
Anything else? Oh, well, let me mention again, if you want to leave your questions down below, we'll be picking them for next podcast. So, yeah.
Diddly doodly.
Diggly diggly doodle. Anything else you want to say?
No, I think that's it. I think I've basically talked myself out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got to go see my girlfriend, so I do need to jump off for a bit.
You know, if you don't add sarcasm to that, people might believe you.
People can take that however they want.
Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a like, share with your friends, leave a comment, say what's up in the comment section below. And stay visual.
Bye.